And this flood of messages continued for several days. Radio Citizen, which Waweru headed, is the biggest radio station in Kenya, both in terms of reach and audience share. Yaliyotendeka, the show that he hosted, was one of the most popular shows in Kenyan radio. So it did not come as a surprise to us that the thousands of messages we were receiving were coming from every corner of the country. Waweru was a national figure, and the sense of loss we are feeling here today is being felt all over the country. When the history of radio in Kenya is written, surely there should be a chapter on Waweru Mburu. He was a social and political commentator, and he was the voice of the common mwananchi. Whenever he felt that members of the public were either being exploited or disrespected by those in power, he rose to their defense. We've heard it said here many times, Waweru was fearless, and he did not spare anyone. You've heard from many speakers here. It did not matter whether you're in government or opposition or in the private sector. If Waweru believed you are abusing your power at the expense of the public, he was going to come for you. Irrespective of how senior or powerful you were, Waweru was going to come for you. And he was going to hit you hard. So as a result, he was not just a commentator, he was also a force of change. Many of the injustices that Waweru pointed out, that he exposed, stopped. The people and institutions that were abusing their power retreated the minute they were exposed by Waweru. So because of Waweru, grabbed land was returned to its rightful owners. Public roads were repaired. Hospitals were restocked with medicines. Workers who were being exploited by their employers were given their rightful dues. The list is endless. He was a one-man army that single-handedly forced people in authority to do the right thing. That is why his audiences loved him. And that is why for 14 years, millions of Kenyans waited every evening for 8 p.m. to listen to Waweru Mburu. But while the public loved Waweru, those on the receiving end of his commentary were naturally not happy. He stepped on many, many toes. And there were many among them who felt that Waruru had crossed the line, that he had been too harsh or unfair. And sometimes they were right. There were several occasions when even we as management felt that he had been too harsh or that he had not considered all the facts. He was human after all and was bound to make mistakes. However, the one thing that distinguished Waweru was his willingness to accept when he was wrong. Whenever we received complaints from the public, from public figures, or from their lawyers, as you've heard, there are very many letters from lawyers, Fred Afuni and I would engage Waweru with a view to figuring out how we would respond as a company. In most cases, Waweru defended his commentary very passionately, and he went to great lengths to demonstrate to us why his views were justified. And sometimes we agreed to disagree. But once in a while, Waweru himself would admit that maybe he got his facts wrong, that maybe he had been unfair or too harsh. He would be apologetic and we would agree on how to resolve the issue. And this is one of the attributes that made Waweru such a successful commentator. His ability and willingness to accept that despite how strongly he felt about something, there are always 2 or 3 sides to every story. This is a hallmark of a good journalist, and Waweru was one. So we have lost a great man and a great journalist. His family will miss him. We, his colleagues at Royal Media, will miss him. And the millions of his listeners out there, as Fred said, will also miss him. But all of us have a choice now. We can shed tears